Why does TIG welding feel hard until you understand the joints? Learning the joints, lap joints, butt joints, T-joints, corner joints. Learning those joints makes the process a whole lot easier once you understand what those joints prepare you for. So a lot of times when we're diving into the TIG welding process, the first thing I hear students and people say, can I drop some dimes, make them look all pretty? Because that's normally what they highlight TIG. You see the pretty colors, you see the dimes and how they shape it, and you're like, oh man, that must be like, I want to do that. Not understanding that is the last thing that you need to be concerned with. You need to be concerned with the angle. You need to be concerned with your gap, your travel speed. You need to be concerned with the molten metal, how it's forming up, not necessarily the arc. Because sometimes you get so caught up looking at the arc, you're forgetting the molten metal because you need to watch it form up. You need to watch it melt properly so that way it'll let you know when it's time to start moving into your joint or your butt joint or your lap joint or your T-joint. When you're getting started, it's something happening at the beginning, and if you watch it correctly, it'll let you know what you need to do. It'll let you know that you need to increase your voltage. It'll let you know you need to decrease it or increase it. All of this is in the beginning stages, and it's very important that you learn these stages. And I'm not gonna lie to you, fam. I'm old school, and I was taught by an old school person. And one thing that I was taught was to start with the hardest process first. And most people will say the stick welding is one of the hardest process to learn, but TIG is more skilled. And normally they save that for you once you get through the other processes. I have learned now over the last few years that, in my personal opinion, it's better to learn the TIG welding process first if a person want to dive into learning everything, because this TIG welding process is so much goes into controlling your torch, your stick out, your angle, your gap, your travel. It's so much into this that can really help a student. And I'm going to tell you why, in my personal opinion. So when you stick welding first, you see sparks going on, it's getting stuck. It's a lot going on that can throw you off. With the TIG though, it kind of like slows everything down. Kind of like the Flash, the guy that can run real fast. When he's running, it looks like he's just walking and taking stuff out of people's hands. He done ran all across the world. You see what I'm saying? So that's one thing to me, in my personal opinion, that TIG allows a student. I don't care if you 13 to 60. It allows you to slow down and look at the whole process without getting sidetracked with the sparks and the flames and getting stuck. You get what I'm saying? So learning this process can really help you. So don't get overwhelmed. I just think the thing that really mess people up in this process is that they want to hurry up and make a pretty weld. They want to hurry up and not understand the molten metal, the molten puddle. I like that. Puddle is very important. And so for the sake of time, I want to run one, but I don't have a good camera where you can literally zoom in and see what I'm doing. So I'm going to do this for the sake of the example only, but you'll be able to see. But the purpose of me doing this is to just get you relaxed, because being comfortable is everything when you're doing this process. Knowing what you're doing, starting right, and literally paying attention to the whole thing. As long as you're paying attention to everything, staying focused, you'll be fine. So what I'm going to do first, on the front end of this plate, I'm just going to run it without filler metal. And I always tell students to get comfortable with how you want to hold your torch. Now every torch is different. This one actually got a trigger here. Some of them have a knob. They come in all different styles. They come where you can flex the tip. This one actually don't flex, but they do come and flex. So I always recommend get comfortable. And actually how you use the torch. You see my hand is down here. I like to control it from the, what I call the body of the torch. I like to control it from the body. I don't want to be all up here on the neck or on this ceramic cup, because this thing is getting real hard, man. It's getting real hot. The ceramic cup is getting real hot, and if you got your hands like this, it can get uncomfortable. And you might got a good bead, but then once it get hot, fam, it just get uncomfortable to keep it going. So instead of learning it the hard way, I would try to learn it where you can control it from here. That way the heat is here and you can be patient and do your thing without the piece of metal getting too hot. I recommend that. So what we're gonna do, we're just gonna run one. And I'm gonna start at the front, I'm gonna end. And when you get started, fam, you ain't got to try to just free your hand. You can brace yourself a little bit, whatever you need to do to make this process easier for you. Because this is the learning process, and you'll understand why you're doing everything. And you'll understand when you get this done right, like as far as just running regular beads, because I recommend every student to do that front and back several times until you get the concept. Because it's going to let you know what you're looking for when you start building joints, when you start making things and fabricating. All right, I got a nice puddle. Now all I'm going to do is keep my travel speed and push my puddle along. Now I got my welding hood lens on about 11. Depends on what kind of metal you are welding on, what the machine is. You can go anywhere from a 10 to a 13 lens. Depends on how bright, what kind of material you're welding on. But I can see good with this 11. So that's what I'm working on right now. And I'm just going on with the flow. I'm watching everything. I'm watching the puddle. Always recommend to do it like that. It's smooth. It blends in fine. Everything looks smooth. And the purpose of doing this, you're going to understand how quick you need to go. If you need to rock. Why you need to keep your angle together. Why you don't need to change it. You know what I mean? Why you need to keep your angle the same the whole time if you're doing a little pattern or not. Like, so you're going to understand the simple basics like that from just running it. So now we're going to run one across the top of this. And we're just going to do the same thing. The whole purpose of this is just to give a demonstration. I love this tray, by the way. This is a foldable welding accessory table. I would recommend y'all get you one of these, especially if you got you a little shop or you're building something and you want to try to control the environment. This is real cool, especially when you're doing TIG welding. I really like this for TIG welding and MIG welding processes. Now, when it's another process like stick and flux, it's a little too hot for that. But MIG and TIG, this tray accessory right here that you can fold up is great, fam. So, you see how I just touched that? And I stopped right then because that is a great lesson. So, when you're doing this, one thing that's going to happen is you don't want to touch your filler metal to your tungsten. Now, I barely did it, but this is a good example. Because if you do this, the proper thing to do is to stop. Release it. Take it out, go over here to the bench grinder, clean it off, restart the process. That's the best thing to do. That's a good habit to form. We're gonna do this real quick because this is a good habit. So when you do that, just make sure you get it clean. Your goal is to have about a 30-degree angle, 3-point on there. You don't want to go crazy. 30 degrees is plenty. And then you can start right back where you was. Now, if you touch that end, I will also recommend that you cut that piece off, because that piece was contaminated just like this piece was. Now you're starting off with a fresh piece. Now, another thing I want to say, when you're welding this, you want to put your weld right up against the edge of that previous weld that you just did. Not the throat though. You want to tie it straight into the side of the weld, not the throat of the weld. The throat is the top. You want to make sure you tying it right into the side. That's going to be your guide. That's going to be your guideline. You're going to see it spread. Anywhere 50, 75% is fine, but that's the goal. One thing you notice when your tip, when your tungsten is clean, you got a clean filler rod, everything works smooth. You don't see no holes. You able to go quicker. The metal was already heated up, so I didn't have to spend a lot of time, because if you spend too much time, you're gonna be putting too much heat into it, and then that's where the sugar and all this stuff is gonna start coming in once you start dealing with stainless and other alloys. You can really mess some stuff up. So you understand, if you go slow, you're putting a lot of heat. Just because the amperage might be down, if you go too slow, you still focusing that heat in that area. So travel speed is very important. So remember, gap, angle, travel speed. In order to produce a good weld, you want to look at the puddle. Check out that molten metal, fam. Check out that puddle and what it's doing. Not necessarily worrying about a pretty bead. Not necessarily worrying about the cosmetics of the weld. You're going to get there. But focus on how everything is tying in. How these joints are going to tie in. Focus on that, fam. And if you do that, you're going to be a great welder all the way around. Not just a TIG welder. Hold on.